Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
La 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. La 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. La 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. Welcome to our home. So we're so glad you're with us on this Shabbat. Let me tell you what the last 2 weeks have been. If you've been watching our Shabbat services, they've been at the synagogue. But since we're supposed to stay in place, shelter in place, we've decided for the next several weeks or months to record this service, present this service, sing this service with you, that you can watch any time after tonight, Friday night at 7 o'clock. It's going to just play on and on and on. And the past services are on our homepage as well. Just go to the homepage, as you probably know, because you're watching this service, and you can watch this service and previous services as well. Next week, we're going to have a Pesach Seder, and we're going to release it one day before Pesach. First night of Pesach, April 8th. April 7th, we're going to release it. You can use this Seder to prepare for your own small Seder. And I'm sure it will be small because legally it has to be small. Safety comes first. Or you can put your iPad on the table and you can watch the service, stopping it when you want for discussion around your Seder table. So, in fact, next week, if you have the iPad and the cell phone, on the cell phone you can follow the Haggadah text.
Which we want to send you.
Which we're going to send you. And on the iPad you can follow the Seder itself. But we will, as Ruti just said, we will send out the Haggadah at the same time. You can print it out and pass it around to the 1, 2, or 3 people at your table. You will not be alone at the Pesach Seder because we will be with you, and the hundreds of people that will be watching. You know, the first service we did a few weeks ago, 800 people watched that service. We were a community. Social distancing means physical distancing. But when you have a service and dozens or hundreds of people are together, then we're all together in our community, as we've always been, as we always will be. So continue to reach out on the telephone, continue to go online, let us know if we can be of help to you at any time during the week. And by the way, everybody in the congregation is being called on the phone just to see how you're doing and to pass messages back to me. So for the committee that's doing that, and it's a big volunteer committee, we appreciate that you're doing that. It's a great mitzvah. Now, in this service, there's something we haven't done the last few weeks.
And I'm so excited about it.
It is terrific. And we want to thank our young Cantors for being part of this service. Individually, they have recorded their parts. And Michael Bogomolny, our pianist, has recorded the music, and Josh Herzog, a young member of our congregation, has edited this all together.
Thank you, Josh,
so
much.
Here we are, and with Victoria Dozer, and Dana Whitkin, and Lucy Roth, and Cece LeBeau, and Sarah Henches, and Zach Garrett, and Toby Eisenberg, and Rowan Olson as our young cantors, all joining in this service. And you know who else we want to have join in? Everybody watching. Please join us in the blessing over the Shabbat candles, followed by Shalom Aleichem on page 1 of the downloaded booklet, the prayer book that we sent you.
אשר קידשנו במצוותיו ציוונו להדליק נר של שבת. Shalom Aleichem, Melech Yesharet, Malach Elyon, Melech, Malchei Amlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem b'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malach Elyon, Melech, Malchei Amlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. B'chuni l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malach Elyon, Melech, Malchei Amlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tzechem l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malach Elyon, Melech, Malchei Amlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
Shabbat Shalom, everybody.
Shalom.
Let's greet each other.
greet each
Shabbat
other.
Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
So, I have a poem that someone sent me. It's quite beautiful. And by the way, keep sending me poetry and readings that I can share through my letters to the congregation or through this service. May we who are merely inconvenienced remember those whose lives are at stake. May we who have no risk factors remember those who are most vulnerable. May we who have the luxury of working from home remember those who must choose between preserving their health or making their rent. May we who have the flexibility to care for our children when schools close remember those who have no options. May we who have to cancel our trips remember those who have no safe place to go. May we who are losing our margin money in the tumult of the economic market remember those who have no margin at all. May we who settle in for a quarantine at home remember those who have no home. As fear grips our country, remember to choose love during this time when we cannot physically wrap our arms around each other. Lecha Dodi, that you'll see at the bottom of page 1, is a love poem of our people to Shabbat. We greet the Shabbat queen. We remember all of the important women in our tradition. We're going to talk about this in a week when we talk about the Pesach Seder, the story of the Exodus. Think of Miriam, who valiantly led with her 2 brothers, Moses and Aaron, the Israelites across the sea. Miriam, who made sure that baby Moses was saved. Bat Paro, Batya, the daughter of Pharaoh, who raised Moses in the palace. Shifra and Puah, the Hebrew midwives, as they're called in the Torah. Why are they called Hebrew midwives? Are they midwives who served the Hebrews, or were they Jewish midwives? And the rabbis say we don't know, but both answers are morally and spiritually helpful. If they were Jewish, they were heroic Jews who saved the lives of our people. And if they weren't Jewish, if they were midwives for the Hebrew women, then they were the first Chasidei Umot HaOlam, the first righteous non-Jews in history who saved our people. And so we honor them, Shifra and Puah and Batya and Miriam and all the women of our tradition. And now also the Shabbat queen, who we welcome in, Lecha Dodi.
Lecha Dodi.
בדיבור אחד, השמיענו אליו יוחד. אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד, לשם ולתפארת ולתהילה. לך דודי לקראת קלה, Oh
We turn to page 2 as we join for Baruch. Please rise and turn to face east. We join together. We turn to page 12 and we join together reading this reading by Helen Keller, read by the Cantor with all of us.
Please join with me. What we have once enjoyed, we can never lose. A sunset, a mountain bathed in moonlight, the ocean in calm and in storm. We see this, love their beauty, hold the vision in our hearts. All that we love deeply becomes a part of us.
All that we love deeply becomes a part of us. So let's close our eyes and take some deep, relaxing Shabbat breaths. We turn to page 4 for the Shema, but first some moments of Kavanah. Breathe in Shabbat and let go of the staleness of the week, the tensions of the week. No one knew that relaxing at home could be so hard. Breathe in Shabbat. And let's ask ourselves, when we say all that we love deeply becomes a part of us, let's think of all those ways in which we've been blessed. The people in our lives, the beauties of nature, the adventures and experiences we've had in the journey of our lives. All that we love deeply becomes a part of us. Bring that love into your heart right now and offer gratitude, thanks, and appreciation to all those people and all those places and all those experiences that have become so lovingly deep in our hearts. Breathe in Shabbat.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם לשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובישעריך.
We turn to page 5. In a few moments we'll join together for Mi Chamocha. Mi Chamocha comes from the book of Exodus, chapter 15. It is the paradigmatic song of the sea, describing in the Torah leaving Egypt behind, leaving slavery behind. Hundreds of years slaves, hundreds of years confined. And now was the chance for freedom. Now was the chance to go out and live your own life and be autonomous. But it wasn't to happen. It took even longer. 40 years of wandering in the wilderness. That was a terrible confinement, a terrible quarantine. The Jewish people were socially isolated, perhaps near each other, but isolated from things they had known in the past, and so far from the blessings that were to come in the future. We can learn from biblical stories a lot. We can learn to have courage. When the Israelites got to the sea, they crossed the sea, they endured the wilderness. Oh, they complained, they fetched. Just like we complain and we fetch about sheltering at home right now. But you know, they had a vision, and Moses kept that vision alive. And the vision was, keep your eye on the prize. Keep your eye on a new life of freedom. We, every time we chant Mi Chamocha, we affirm that we can cross the seas in our lives. We can face anxiety and overcome it. It's not that we're not afraid. Of course we're afraid. But we're also strong, and we take chances, and we cross the sea, and we wait, and then we reap our blessings. We join together, Mi Chamocha.
מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נהדר בקודש, נורא תהילתו ספלה, נורא תהילתו ספלה. מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נהדר בקודש, נורא תהילתו ספלה, נורא תהילתו ספלה. מלכותך רבניך בקיים לפני משה, צאלי ענו ואמרו אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נהדר בקודש, נורא תהילתו ספלה, נורא תהילתו ספלה.
We have a few readings for you, very short maxims, ideas to remember and meditate on during the week. The best way to cheer yourself up is to try to cheer somebody else up. Mark Twain said that.
The Dalai Lama said, "My religion is very simple. My religion is kindness."
Helen Keller said, "No pessimist ever discovered the secret to the stars or sailed to an uncharted land or found a new doorway for the human spirit."
And this is a Yiddish proverb. Anyone who understands his or her foolishness is already a little wiser.
This comes from Viktor Frankl. When we are no longer able to change the situation, we are challenged to change ourselves. I am not a product of my circumstances. I am a product of my decisions. This Shabbat is Shabbat HaGadol, the great Sabbath, Shabbat HaGadol. It's the Shabbat before Pesach. There were two special Shabbats traditionally. These two Shabbatot were the most important of the whole year. Rabbis gave sermons traditionally only on these two Shabbatot. The rest of the time they taught. But they gave sermons, long sermons, about preparation for these holidays. Shabbat HaGadol for Pesach, and Shabbat Shuvah, the Sabbath of return and renewal, for Yom Kippur, right before Yom Kippur. Each Shabbat has the same reason. It's to cleanse us, to get the chametz out of us. The moral chametz, the arrogance, the need to forgive and apologize, and a reluctance to do so before Yom Kippur. We try to cleanse ourselves, purge ourselves of bad feelings, bad actions, bad intentions. And on the Shabbat before Pesach, we not only clean the chametz out of the cupboards, but we also return to a time of simplicity. Before the Babylonian exile in 586 BCE, when our people were exiled from Eretz Yisrael, from present-day Israel, to Babylonia, before the Babylonian exile, the new year came in the spring, like it did for all ancient cultures. Chag HaAviv, the holiday of springtime, which is one of the names we give to Pesach even today, is a reminder that that holiday was the beginning of the year, fertility, newness, growth. So this holiday of Pesach was to begin a whole new cycle of behavior, belief, and practice. But in the Babylonian exile, we went to Babylonia, which was the Big Apple of the time, very sophisticated society. We went there and we took over the fiscal year of the Babylonians, and therefore Rosh Hashanah, the new year, came in the fall. But in the biblical calendar, all began in the spring. So we cleaned out all the bad stuff of the past year within us and around us, and we began anew. We call this holiday coming up Chag HaMatzot, the holiday of matzahs, the holiday of unleavened bread. Why? Because the matzah represents not just the story of leaving in haste, which is a wonderful story, but it also represents beginning with pure bread that hasn't risen, that is simple, that's also poor person's bread. A reminder, as we say in the Seder Halach Ma'anya, we have to take care of the people around us. So we begin with pure bread and poor person's bread as a way of reminding us about how to behave at this season. This holiday is also called Zaman Cherutenu, the time of our freedom. We have to think about our freedom. We are confined from full freedom right now, but we have tremendous freedom and opportunity in our lives in general. So we have to break our chains, which are basically psychological and spiritual, much more than physical. But we also have to look around the world at this time and every time and break the chains of those around us who are in the margins of society, who have fallen between the cracks, who nobody cares about unless we care about Tikkun Olam. All of this is part of what Shabbat HaGadol reminds us as Pesach approaches. You've heard of a juice cleanse. This is a Jew's cleanse, where we cleanse ourselves, and we strive through Shabbat HaGadol and the Seder and Pesach to cleanse ourselves of all our bad habits and intentions and focus on all the possibilities inherent in us. Think of the creativity that's been unleashed by this plague. Yes, this is a magefa. This is a plague. It's a pestilence. We can focus on the pestilence, or we can focus on the ingenuity and creativity, the instinct to bring meaning out of chaos that has just been displayed online. Think of all the emails you've gotten, the humor, as well as the serious ones, the activities for families and for adults, the Broadway shows you can watch online, the music and lectures you can listen to. Think about all that. Human beings do not know, and it's good for them that they don't know how to deal with chaos and be satisfied. We must provide meaning in the face of chaos. Just like the Exodus, our ancestors couldn't get back to the world they dreamed of until the plague was over. They couldn't leave Egypt until the messenger of death had committed the 10th plague. We have to stay inside too. But even though we stay inside, we do it to save ourselves, and even more importantly, to save the world. We remain inside so that we don't infect others. We stay inside and make this Shabbat HaGadol and Pesach and all the days beyond meaningful in the face of chaos. We think of those who are facing health challenges, who are ill. We wish them refuah shlema, strength during illness, and whenever possible, a full and speedy recovery. Call out the name now of the person you're thinking about, or the many people you're thinking about who are facing these challenges. We wish them a refuah shlema. We turned in our prayer books to page 15 for Misha Beirach, a prayer of healing.
Please join in with me. Misha Beirach Avoteinu Mekor HaBracha Source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. In need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say
So if you have a Kaddish cup, please turn to page 11, page 9. It's hard getting used to this new Xerox prayer book, we turn to page 9,
We'll do the short
and we
version.
join together for Kiddush. Page 9.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם בורא פרי הגפן לחיים.
L'chaim. And we join together for the traditional motzi and the modern egalitarian motziyah.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם המוציא לחם מן הארץ אמן. נברך את עין החיים המוציאה לחם מן הארץ.
B'te'avon, everybody. Now we turn to Aleinu. Aleinu is found in our prayer books on page 10. And if you're able to rise, we turn to page 10 and rise for Aleinu.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שנתן לנו תורת אמת, וחיי עולם נטע בתוכנו, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים, לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
We read together on page 11 the words from the poet Judy Chicago representing the biblical vision of the prophets. We read together. And then all that has divided us will merge. And then compassion will be wedded to power. And then softness will come to a world that is harsh and unkind. And then both men and women will be gentle. And then both women and men will be strong. And then no person will be subject to another's will. And then all will be rich and free and varied. And then the greed of some will give way to the needs of many. And then all will share equally in the earth's abundance. And then all will care for the sick and the weak and the old. And then all
will nourish
the young. And then all will cherish life's creatures. And then all will live in harmony with each other and the earth. And then everywhere will be called Eden once again. We turn back to page 10, bottom, V'ne'emar.
ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד.
We remain standing and turn to page 11 for Kaddish Yatom, for mourners Kaddish. We pause for a moment to think of those who have passed away, those whom we miss. We might be remembering Yahrzeit and the anniversaries of deaths or a recent death. We might be thinking about someone who sat at our Seder tables who we miss, who taught us how to enjoy the holiday. Or if we didn't grow up Jewish, someone who taught us love of new beginnings, love of freedom, love of breaking chains, love of each other. For all those whom we remember, Zichronam Livracha, their memories are a blessing to us all. Yitgadal v'yitgadash Shemei Rabbah, V'yalmad yivrach Ruti v'yamlich Malchutei, V'chayechon v'yomechon uv'chayei chol Beit Yisrael, Bagalav Yisman Kariv v'yimru Amen. Yehei Shmei Rabbah Mevorach L'olam Ulamei Maya, Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalal Shmei Kudusha Richu, Leila min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, dam yiram bi'alma v'yimru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'imru amen. Oseh shalom mimramav, hu yaseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'al kol yoshvei tevel, v'imru amen. We join together singing words of peace on us and our people and all humanity. Usually we put our arms around each other, but we are taught to be careful even with those among whom we live. So for a while, we just join emotionally together, but a little bit separate, a little bit apart. We join for Oseh Shalom.
Oseh Shalom Miromav, Hu Yaseh Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kol Yisrael, Ve'al Kol Yoshvei Tevel, Ve'imru Amen. Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kol Yisrael, Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kol Yisrael, Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kol Yisrael, Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kol Yisrael, Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kol Yisrael.
Shabbat Shalom.
We love you.
And we miss you.
Shabbat Shalom.
Go to the website on Tuesday when we post the Seder, the Pesach Seder, for everyone to use to prepare for your own Sedarim, your own Seders, or to use on your Seder table as we all join together for the Seder. Shabbat
Shabbat
Shalom.
Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.